When I hear that someone is into art, often my first reaction is to ask them what type of art they create or what style of art they enjoy making. Although it's kind of ironic that I would ask this, since I never really know what to say when someone asks me the same question. The thing is, my art is still in its infancy. I'm still scattered all over the board without much direction, and I simply don't have an answer at this stage. I'm the first to admit that I have no art style. I have pieces that I'm happy with, and other pieces that I don't like one bit. I dabble all over the place without much of a link, a common thread. But I feel like I'm ready to begin seeking out a style, or maybe somewhere along my path, my style will find me. And let me be clear, it's not that I want to be boxed into something specific, it's because I'd like to have a better idea of what to focus my energy towards. I'm not in my 20s anymore, or even my 30s. I'm beginning my art journey later in life than most, but younger than some, and I'd like to start making some headway, having at least a vague idea of what to practice. It's difficult to improve when you're trying everything under the sun. And trust me, I'm one of those people who feels the need to try everything under the sun. So, if you're like me and you have no clue what your art style is, but maybe, just maybe, you're ready to narrow it down, then let's talk about how we might begin to do just that. I would say that first stage is all about exploration and experimentation. And it would be great to say, try it all, try every medium, try every style, draw and paint every subject. But realistically, who has that kind of time? It would take years, if not decades, to dip your toe into every single pond, lake, and ocean. So what I'm doing is narrowing down my list. Well, technically lists, plural. My first list covers art mediums. I have 3 columns: art mediums that I already know I enjoy, mediums that I haven't tried but I'm interested in, and mediums that I have no interest in pursuing. So for me, it looks like this. I know that I love watercolor. I've recently discovered that I love ink pens, and back in high school, I remember having fun with charcoals. Column 2, I'd like to try gouache. I'm curious about Posca pens. And I don't think I'll be spending my time or my money learning oil painting, and I don't think I'll be doing full-on acrylic paints, and I'll probably skip tempera sticks as well, so I can cross those off my list. Moving on to the next chart, stylistic elements and aesthetic. I won't claim to know much about Art Deco or Art Nouveau, but I do know that I like semi-abstract, whimsical artwork. I love a painting that has a loose, free quality to it. I'm drawn more to colors that are slightly muted, almost lacking in saturation, rather than dark, bright colors. And I love a good, moody piece. Next column, things I'm curious about or would like to try. I would like to have the courage to be bold with more of my strokes. And I'd like my focals to be known. I don't want to shy away from them and let them fall into the background. I think composition plays a huge role here, so that's something I know I need to work on. And the stylistic elements that I think I'll pass on. I'm personally not interested in photorealism, nor would I like to pursue fully abstract design. Semi-abstract, great, but full abstract, just not for me. Now on to subject matter. Column 1, I know that I love nature, landscapes, botanicals, and all things creepy cute. Column 2, I would like to spend more time on cityscapes and buildings. I also want to learn more about drawing and painting people, specifically faces. It's very hit or miss right now. And maybe I'll spend a little time on animals as well. Column 3, subjects I'm not interested in. I don't see myself getting too much into action scenes, a lot of movement, fight scenes, none of that. And I'm not really into sci-fi, so I won't be learning how to draw characters or machinery that might appear in Star Trek or Star Wars, nothing of that sort. And vehicles and cars are likely a no for me as well. So now that we've started to narrow down our parameters, we can start to consider how the items on each list might interact. So for example, I might decide to spend some time playing around with watercolor paintings with bold focals, and that focal might be animals. So check over your lists and see what appeals to you. Does the thought of an ink drawing of a cityscape with a moody vibe sound like a good place to start? And actually, you can take this a step further if you want. What about making the same 3 columns of specific techniques? I love stippling. I'm very much interested in learning about jelly plates, and I don't think I'll bother with any techniques involving hot wax. While the results can be stunning, I just don't have enough of a personal desire to pursue it. So here's a question. Do you actually need an art style? I would say the answer is no. You absolutely don't need to have an art style. But if you are planning on selling your art, it can be helpful if your work is recognizable as your own. And if you ever plan to do commission work, customers like to be able to look through your past artwork and have an idea of what they might be getting. So if you're all over the place, they won't know what to expect and they might be hesitant to go through with the purchase. And honestly, I think it can raise your self-confidence and help you feel more official if you can show the world what you're all about. I sometimes feel like I won't be taken as seriously because, as you can see from the images on my right, the artwork that I've done over the past year, my voice is not yet clear. Okay, so if you've decided that you might benefit from having an art style, and if you're seeing any overlap between my lists and your own, I hope that you'll consider subscribing. Throughout 2025, I plan to spend a lot of time on these lists, exploring different mediums, styles, and subjects. And as we shuffle them around and play with how the techniques and aesthetics work together, I think we'll find specific things that really excite us and things that make us want to create more art. And over time, I'm hoping to see more cohesion in my own art. Having an art style doesn't have to mean that we use the same mediums all the time or stick to the same colors or subjects. To me, art style is about finding your own unique way to convey meaning, having a method of expressing yourself without necessarily using words and still having your voice be heard. Sometimes I feel like I'm on the edge of a breakthrough, like I can almost picture my ideal artwork, but it's still a bit blurry, off in the distance, and it just isn't quite clear. Occasionally, I'll scroll through Pinterest, and while I think it is kind of nice sometimes to get inspiration from others, there's definitely a downfall. The problem that I face is that I can start heading down the wrong path, and I find myself leaning towards someone else's art style instead of working on my own. And don't get me started on the comparison game. If you aren't careful, social media can be a breeding ground for self-doubt and false feelings of inadequacy. We don't have the same strengths and weaknesses or the same likes and dislikes. It will take time, but we can carve out our own path. And despite the hard work and frustrations we'll run into, it should be fun and rewarding too. Otherwise, it kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? So if you're lacking in the art style department, like me, not to worry. We will get there in our own time. Thanks for watching.